Exchange is trading slightly lower today, given the weaker trading picture in Asia, where anxiety over regulatory overhang has come to the fore. Elsewhere, rising COVID-19 cases fueled by the Delta variant was another theme driving the markets lower. Overall, markets have been pushing higher, with Wall Street hitting a series of record highs over the past week amid better than expected corporate results for the second quarter. For an analysis of how the markets are looking so far today, we're joined now by Michael Treherne, who's portfolio manager at Vestact. Mr. Treherne, so good to have you once again on the daytime update. Give us a sense, if you would, of how the markets are performing so far today.
Afternoon, Tommy. Yes, so this morning was characterized by more uncertainty out of China. We saw 10 cents drop 10% in Hong Kong trade earlier this morning, which meant that the JSE, when we opened at 9, opened deep in the red. Things have calmed down a bit as authorities there have strived to try calm investors, and all the uncertainties around authorities or a government-owned newspaper saying that gaming was bad for social fabric in China, and Tencent's got a very big gaming division, so there was quite a big concern around more intervention from the government, which is why Tencent was down 10%, and Naspers and Prosus were down about 5 or 6%.
Now, IMF governors have approved a historic $650 billion allocation of special drawing rights. What does this mean for global liquidity and the global economy?
Yes, so it's a way of, as you say, creating more liquidity in the global economy. Now, that sounds rather fancy, but at the simplest basis, an IMF, this is basically an IMF loan in simple terms, and that means that countries are able to borrow money at very, very low interest rates. The IMF also points out that some very low-income countries will be able to borrow this money at zero interest rates. And the intention here is that countries that are struggling with COVID disruptions, and also trying to support their own economies and vaccine rollout, will be able to access this money to support the economy and their citizens. At the end of the day, we live in a global village, and if everyone's doing better, that's good for everyone else.
Let's take a look at MTN Rwanda. They've seen a 29.3% rise in the first quarter service revenue. Take us through the group's numbers.
Yes, so as you said, revenue up around 30%. A lot of that seems to be driven by their mobile money, so MoMo as they call it. And these are services that MTN is trying to roll out throughout all their operations. We're seeing that fintech firms in general are receiving a lot of investor attention, and MTN is one of the global leaders, particularly on the African continent, in rolling out fintech solutions and mobile money. So that's been good news for them, particularly in Rwanda. Looking at the broader group, yesterday they had an announcement out saying that they've been able to take $5 billion out of Nigeria and invest it in the broader company. And one of their lawsuits in the US has been dismissed. So some good news coming out of MTN in general, and we're seeing the share price react positively as well.
Now, Accuro expects the first half earnings to fall by up to 52.5%. Take us through the group's trading statements.
The numbers are a bit confusing. Yes, the headline earnings per share will be down about 40%, but that's because there's a lot more shares in issue. Last year they went to shareholders and they said, we need another R1 billion from you, and in exchange for that R1 billion, we're going to give you shares. So having more shares in issue mean that existing shares then have less profits each year. I think the numbers we need to be looking at is that Accuro said that they increased their student numbers by around 7%, and overall revenue increased by about 12%. So those top line numbers are moving in the correct direction. There's still a lot of disruption from COVID, and we're seeing the continued move away from owning nursery schools and converting those into primary schools. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the nursery school sector once everyone's back at work and COVID is done, because it's not looking like a pretty place at the moment.
Michael Treherne, thank you once again for the day's market update. That's Michael Treherne. He is Portfolio Manager at Vestact.